Welcome in Thursday, July 2nd edition of the Safety Focus of the Week. Today's weather is supposed to be pretty nice, all in all. It's gonna be a little humid, high 85 they're saying, with a potential isolated thunder shower depending on your location. So hope everybody has a safe day today and enjoys this holiday weekend approaching. So this week, the code of conduct is to promote the code. Kind of highlights all the main points. So safety news, we went another week without a recordable injury. Just noting, we did have another kind of eye incident with a foreign body entering the eye, and those kind of can become kind of serious cases. So it's very important that you kind of let us know, report that immediately so we can help flush or seek medical attention, because if we don't, it prolongs and the irritation in the eye can worsen over time. It can become more serious. So it's very important to report in a timely fashion so we can help with the injury management process. And again, that form is available in Teams. But all in all, let's continue the good, safe, best practices out there on our job sites. So this week we wanted to highlight some of the accidents that have gone on, not in engineers construction, but kind of around Vermont and around the industry. We're seeing a lot of overhead contact clearances. So here's an image that occurred in New England, a very serious accident. And again, these are the dangers that exist each and every day that we're doing trucking or operating any piece of equipment in and around overhead power lines. You can see this one, probably a dump truck driver forgot that his body was up and pulled forward and took down, looks like probably about eight or nine poles there, and very serious situation. From my understanding from this incident, there was nobody, luckily nobody was harmed in this very serious situation. So kind of getting into the rules and regulations and talking about the hazards and making sure that we set up best work practices regarding overhead clearances. The kind of requirements is maintaining that 10 feet away when we're at that 50 kV, which is a lot of our, that would be right around, residential areas. Once we get over 50 to 200, those are more of your distribution lines, high tension lines, and anything over 200, we want to make sure we're staying 20 feet away. That would be kind of our Valco right away at that corridor. Anytime we're working around distribution and transmission lines, we really high exposed power there. So kind of good rule of thumb is any boom type lifting or hoisting equipment clearances, maintaining that we're identifying those situations so we don't have the electrocution hazards or those struck by hazards that we saw in that image previous. So again, we need to identify the potential on our morning JHAs if we have a crane operation going, or excavator, trucks, aerial lifts, bucket trucks, or any hoisting materials. If we're doing any of those types of operations today and also moving forward, hopefully in the past, we're identifying our overhead exposures, and we're identifying that on the JHAs and communicating that through the field to figure out what our best practices is, how we're going to mitigate that hazard. So our best practices control, again, we're going to try to use the hierarchy of controls. So if we can eliminate or isolate, such as relocating or de-energizing those lines, that would be our best practice. Again, sometimes that's not feasible. It does take time, and it needs to definitely be done in more of the pre-planning, bidding and a month of ahead planning versus just kind of the JHA type of planning that we do. But some of the engineering controls and administrative controls that we can do on the site, just like today, would be just setting up some visual guards. There's yellow coverings. Usually GMP is pretty good about getting out within a couple days or so to be able to visually see the overhead lines if we're having issues with bright blue skies or some of the glare that might happen. If we want to be able to see those, if we are kind of breaching, or not breaching, but coming close to that 10-foot distance. There's also signage that we can put up as a good administrative control such as warning overhead power lines or overhead lines, and cones. Cones work really good just on the ground to kind of identify the edging of the utility. So you can kind of identify if you make a vertical line from the cone up ahead, that's when you'll see the overhead power line. So cone signage, paint on the ground, anything that we can do to kind of visually remind us that overhead power lines exist. Another one is spotters. Spotters is an extra set of eyes to help us to identify and to make sure that we don't breach those clearances that we talked about before. And the last line is that communication, is really communicating with everybody. A lot of these accidents that we see is a lot of it is complacency. We get a little bit complacent sometimes out there, especially in the dog days of summer, where we can let our guards down. And when we do that, that's when we see these types of accidents. So remind each other when you see it, and definitely utilize that JHA. And here's kind of again the dangerous exists. This was Barrett's Trucking. Their trailer dump body came in time with a distribution line, a high power distribution line. I believe it was somewhere down the Route 7 corridor. Came in contact with an overhead power line, and luckily the driver was not in the cab or nearby. He kind of hit the button to lower the body, and he went to go talk to a fellow coworker, and it struck the overhead power lines immediately, put the truck on fire. And again, you can see it's complete loss. And again, luckily here, no one was harmed, just property damage. So it kind of reminds us on the emergency preparation. If we ever do, and again, we hopefully all of our best practices and never let our guard down, but again, it is human nature sometimes to make mistakes. So it's always good to be prepared. So if and when a vehicle or machine is in contact with overhead power lines, do not allow anyone to come near or touch the machine. Stay away from the machine and summon outside assistance. Call 911. Once you get away from the equipment, never attempt to get back or even touch the equipment. We need to make sure the situation is safe and all the utilities, the power line is de-energized. If the driver must leave the vehicle, such as a situation that we just saw, if it catches fire, then we have to make a decision. Stay in or jump out, and most of the time you're going to have to jump out because that truck will become overcome with fire. Must jump out, keeping his feet together, arms close to his body, but must keep his feet touching each other as you land and shuffle away from the machine. Do not run. You do not want to touch the machine at all. If it's energized, you want to make sure you completely isolate yourself from the machine because you have that touch potential. There's been some fatalities over the last couple of years due to this, is leaving a piece of equipment or a truck that has touching overhead power lines, and the individual uses 3 points of contact. They'll get down, and is unfortunately the electrical shock, the path to ground goes right through the individual, and it's a bad situation. So it's a very dangerous hazard that we have, and we need to make sure that we keep the proper awareness. We identify these on our projects, put in some administrative controls such as signage, and we do as best what we can to de-energize and isolate as much as possible. So that is this morning's topic. Let us know if you need signage. We can provide that to all of the job sites in a timely fashion. That said, I will pass it over to Ken for the other part of our topic.
Hey, thanks, Matt. You hear me?
Yes, we can, Ken.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's a pretty scary situation that driver was in. I'm happy that he wasn't in the vehicle, because that it seems like if you're in that vehicle in that situation, you're under a high risk of either being electrocuted when you get out, or obviously the thing burned. And I don't know how quickly it happened, but obviously there was a lot of energy coming through those transmission lines. Those are the Velco lines, I believe, in New Haven. Okay, I'm going to show my screen, and then I'm going to switch to the browser view of the email. Do you see it?
Yes, we do, Ken.
Okay. So for announcements this week, offices will be closed Friday, that's tomorrow, for Independence Day observance. And the safety meeting is obviously this morning. And please secure your job site for the weekend to protect against vandalism and theft. Also, make sure excavations and other hazards are buttoned up, especially well to protect the traveling public, pedestrians and motor vehicles, or wherever your job site might be accessible from. And we wish everyone a safe and happy Independence Day. So there's the 401k pension changes. We discussed this all last week. So just a quick reminder, we do have some auto enrollment adjustments to get everybody to a 3%. And then starting next year on July 1st, we'll be incrementing everybody by 1%, and that'll happen yearly afterwards. And if you want to opt out, which you can talk to our accounting department. You can fill out a deferral form. You can also go online and get onto newportgroup.com with your own login credentials, and that's really the best way to manage your 401k is to go right on yourself and see what your funds are and how much what the distributions are between the funds and how much you're giving and how much you want to give or change going forward. So for new employees today, we have Joseph Berrigan and Jonathan Woodward. So welcome both of you guys. Hopefully you're listening, and whoever, wherever crew you're on, hopefully the crews are welcoming you and getting you to know ECI and know our ways and our employees, and making sure you're being safe and getting established in the company. So welcome, guys. For the COVID-19 policies, again, this is just a reminder that they are available right here. Just to click on these on this email. So there's the restart plan, which really has gone beyond phase 3, but I don't think much has changed for ECI. And then the general precautions, face covering policy, and temperature monitoring policy. So this week we are profiling the Nortrax yard expansion over here, obviously on the other side of Engineers Drive at Shunpike Road. We are contracted with Pigeon Farm Properties LLC to perform the Nortrax yard expansion. The original Nortrax lot was only 200 foot wide and 426 foot long, which is not very large when you sell heavy equipment with a large footprint on each one of them, or many of those. The expansion was done by acquiring lot number 9 from the Robert subdivision next door that allowed Nortrax lot to be widened an additional 100 feet, which is a 50% increase in total area and Shunpike Road frontage. So obviously a good improvement for Nortrax. It gives them a better presence. It has much improved circulation around the building. They obviously have not only a lot of equipment to display of big equipment, they have a lot of deliveries of big equipment, and getting through and around the yard is now much easier. So ECI scope work included clearing and grubbing, earthwork, parking lot gravel, stormwater detention systems, dumpster pad, site lighting, and the town of Williston recreation path. ECI was involved from the beginning, as you'd expect, I guess, in the Act 250 permitting, which required an archaeological study and also a study to determine the presence of the endangered northern long-eared bat. And the site was cleared of both concerns. There were slight indicators of archaeological significance, but nothing that put it to a level that made it a concern. And on the bat issue there, we were able to fall within an exemption. There was really no significant measurements. They actually put listening devices out for several days, and they have a computer analyze it for the bats, and there was really very little measurement. I think it was a pass-through or something like that. So our subcontractors on this job included Krebs and Lansing for a civil and permitting consultant, UVM Extension for archaeology, Gilman and Briggs for bat study. They're they're an environmental company that specializes in wildlife and that sort of thing, and wetlands. And Ken Mitchell Trucking for clearing the site, Delta Electric for site lighting. So this picture was done last year, actually, and I think in the late fall. And the archaeological team from UVM Extension is digging test pits, and they screen out the two people in the back on both the right and the left side on the way back are screening the results, the shovelfuls that are scooped out by the workers in the front. It's all plotted and everything, and then they actually found some shards, they call shards or chips from making of stone tools, but no stone tools. And the picture there in the middle is the clearing operation by Ken Mitchell Trucking. They really took it down very quickly with their equipment, which was good and efficient. And then there we are placing some of the gravels on the right-hand side in the background there. We're doing some of the stormwater detention. And there's the stormwater basin there that probably won't get too much use. This was yesterday after some fairly heavy rain. And it's a very sandy site, so it probably won't get much work out. And then the recreation path on Shunpike Road. It was required to dogleg around this one of the utility poles, which was unfortunately just replaced last year. And the whole idea of putting it in and the layout was conceived by the town after after the utilities were done by Green Mountain Power, and then so they had to dog bone around that. And then this is a little more of the site work. And we're doing some topsoil spreading. You can see some of the lighting will be on the foundations there are set for the lighting later on. And then that's it. So from the photo archives, we have a picture of the TCC 450 crane. This was on the Garden Hilton Hotel in Burlington back in 2013, sometime shortly after the 4th of July weekend. And you see we were celebrating the 4th Independence Day with a flag on the tip of the boom there, and also with our lighter weight headache ball there is hook ball is painted up red, white, and blue with stars on it as well. So that's what I got. I'll turn it back over to you, Matt, and have a good holiday, and everyone stay safe and try to stay cool this afternoon. It's supposed to be kind of hot later in the day.
Thanks, Ken. Again, a long weekend, site security. I think, Ken, you might have mentioned it, but very important. Make sure we're good. Our sites are buttoned up. Our excavations are hopefully backfilled. We don't have to leave anything open. If we do, make sure everything is really good and tight and safe and prevention of theft. So let's be safe today. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day.